Well, Adrian, John Ping, the chairman of the African Union Commission, is meeting Laurent Gbagbo as we speak. Laurent Gbagbo is one of the people who are saying that they are the president of this country after elections that were held in November did not end well, and the results are still being disputed over by Gbagbo and Alassane Ouattara. John Ping is going to meet Alassane Ouattara later on in the day as well, and his organization has been mediating for the last 3 months. However, there's been absolutely no results so far in the mediation efforts. 5 African leaders who've been charged with the responsibility of proposing a solution to the Ivorian political crisis, who met on Friday in Mauritania, however, cancelled a planned visit to Abidjan and instead invited the 2 men to the next African Union summit in Addis Ababa in about 3 weeks' time. So all this now is creating hopes to fast fade of a solution being brought about by the African Union mediation, and that's what's creating people on both sides of the political divide here in Ivory Coast to arm themselves.
That's a risky situation developing there, Mohammed. As we reported a few moments ago, power and water have come back on in the north of the country, just as these mediations talks get underway, or the mediator arrives. Coincidence?
Well, again, what's happening in the country right now is sending panic to many quarters. The United Nations senior officials in the UN have already spoken about there being a war situation in the Ivory Coast. People, as I said earlier, are arming themselves, and the country has already been divided following the civil war that began in 2002 after a failed coup. So the divide is ever prominent, and people now are resorting to violence to settle out their differences because they don't see any hope at the moment.
Mohammed, many thanks indeed. Mohammed Addo reporting live there from Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire. Here with the news hour from Al Jazeera, from people power to cyber power. We'll be speaking to the so-called hacktivists who are bringing down the websites of corporations and governments. And lessons in revolt 5 years after Nepal's civil war, why peace has brought little progress.
Behind the harsh reality of headline stories, creative forces are constantly developing. Across the globe, people use their talents, their imagination, and their vision to break down powerful barriers. From a small backroom theater challenging a despotic regime to the courage of individuals searching for expression. With rich colors and clear voices, people communicate to a wider world. Artscape, coming soon on Al Jazeera.
A new world driven by new media.
This is a very peculiar moment in media history.
Analyzing the media's role in shaping modern history. The Listening Post, at this time on Al Jazeera.
If you're a Nokia user, you can download Al Jazeera's news widget from Nokia's Ovis store. The news widget, available on compatible Nokia devices, gives users quick and easy access to real-time news updates from Al Jazeera English. See the world in real time. Al Jazeera Mobile.
Hello again, this is Al Jazeera. Adrian Finnegan with you here in Doha. Top stories this hour. We're getting reports of fresh shelling by government forces on the Libyan town of AlJazeera. Rebel fighters had claimed victory there after clashes with Gaddafi forces earlier on Saturday. At least 30 people, mostly civilians, have been killed. Anti-Gaddafi forces are celebrating in the key oil port of Ras Lanouf. They've managed to hang on to the city after repelling an attack by government loyalists. Some government soldiers in the strategic oil town have reportedly switched sides. And in Benghazi in the east, funerals have been held for those killed in a blast at a weapons depot. More than 17 people are thought to have died. Well, Ibrahim Jabril is a Libyan political activist. He joins me now live in the studio. Thanks for being with us. We've heard some pretty dramatic testimony during this programme from AlJazeera, where fierce fighting is clearly underway once again. What do you make of that? Why AlJazeera? What's important strategically about that town?
Two possible scenarios for Zawiya. Zawiya is an oil port. So there's one of the biggest refineries is in Zawiya to start with. Zawiya also has close proximity to Tripoli. So Gaddafi, this is not just now. From the very beginning of this uprising, Gaddafi has made it a point to demonstrate his ability to take back this particular town. This particular city is also has to the west is one brigade, and to the east is one brigade. The one to the east happened to be his son's brigade, Khamis. So he's made it a point to demonstrate his strength by overtaking that city. He has attempted now about 5 times, and he has failed every time. The only difference this time is that he's bombarded Zawiya this time by air, by ground, by tanks, and by sea. So he's shelling Zawiya from all directions, by all means. One possibility why he insists on taking Zawiya, as he tried to also take Al-Brega, is to secure control over some of the oil venues, and to be able to say to the West or to anybody else that I am the one in control of these oil assets.
You say that he's attacked AlJazeera, what, 5 times you said, and failed. I mean, this could all be part of a plan to wear down the protesters, the anti-government forces who are in the town, I suppose, who we keep hearing are not an organised fighting force. What chance do they have against the military of Colonel Gaddafi?
The interesting thing, Adrian, is that we don't have really two compatible forces that are fighting. So we don't have 2 armies fighting. We don't have, so we have civilians who at best have some recaptured light arms that they use. And at worst, they just have maybe sticks and knives and these sort of things. On the other hand, you have military. You have people who are well equipped and so on. So it's not an equal fight to start with. I understand the possibility or the idea of wearing down the city, but knowing the mentality of Gaddafi, this is not how tactically, that's not how he thinks. If he can take over Zawiya, he would have taken it from day one. There is something happening here that is outside perhaps of rational thinking that you and I might think about, and that is, if you have a strong force that is bombarding a small number of people, armless and so on, they should be just to overrun him, very easy. Something is happening that they are not able to do that. Part of that is people within the Gaddafi regime turning over against him. The other part, I think, is the motivation. Those people in Zawiya and other places in Libya want to die for their country. They have a cause to die and to fight for. The other side doesn't have a cause. The other